The sun rises over Austin, painting the city in soft gold and pink. For most, it's the start of a new day filled with promise and routine. But for some, the dawn brings only a reminder of what's been lost and what must be endured. For Maria, the gentle light of morning brings not hope, but dread. Each sunrise marks another day of uncertainty, another day of survival on the unforgiving streets of Texas. She sits beneath a roaring highway, her world reduced to 2 battered plastic bags and a thin cardboard mat that barely shields her from the cold concrete. The noise of traffic above is a constant reminder of the world moving on without her. Not long ago, Maria's life was very different. She worked as a caregiver, tending to the elderly with patience and compassion. She had a modest apartment, a place to call her own, filled with small comforts and memories. But then, a sudden rent hike made her home unaffordable. Her work hours were cut, and when her car broke down, the repair costs wiped out what little savings she had managed to put aside. The safety net she thought she had vanished almost overnight. The eviction notice came swiftly. With nowhere to turn, Maria packed her belongings into bags and stepped out onto the street. Her life changed in an instant. The world she knew slipped away, replaced by the harsh reality of homelessness. Maria's story is heartbreakingly common. Across Texas, thousands face similar fates. Families, veterans, and the elderly, all swept up in a quiet tragedy that repeats itself in city after city. She speaks of the invisibility that comes with homelessness, the way people avert their eyes, hurrying past as if she's not there. To many, she's not a person but a problem to be ignored. Her hands, once gentle from caregiving, are now rough and calloused from nights spent gripping a blanket for warmth and days spent searching for food and safety. Shelters are overflowing and soup kitchens stretch their resources thin. Each day is a battle to find a safe place to sleep, a warm meal, or even a moment of dignity. The line between stability and homelessness is razor thin. A lost job, a medical bill, or a rent increase can push anyone over the edge. More and more Texans are finding themselves on the wrong side of that line. Maria's journey is a stark reminder that homelessness does not discriminate. It can happen to anyone, your neighbor, your coworker, even you. Her story is not an isolated incident but a symptom of a much larger crisis. The tents and makeshift shelters that line Texas streets are evidence of a system stretched to its breaking point. This is the reality beneath Texas's prosperity, a world of gleaming towers and luxury apartments shadowed by the growing presence of those with nowhere to go. Maria's mourning of lost hope is shared by thousands, a silent crisis unfolding in the heart of Texas. Maria's story is one of thousands. Texas's booming economy hides a growing shadow, homelessness is surging, point-in-time counts show tens of thousands without homes on any given night. The most alarming trend, first-time homelessness, families, seniors and children pushed over the edge by a single crisis. Major cities like Houston, Dallas and Austin now have sprawling encampments. Texas, once below the national average, is catching up to states like California and New York. The rate of unsheltered homelessness is among the highest in the nation. Minority communities are hit hardest, revealing deep inequities. These aren't just numbers, they're lives in turmoil. The crisis is local, urgent, and growing louder every day. It's a measure of our collective failure to protect the vulnerable. Why is homelessness rising in Texas, a state known for growth? The answer is skyrocketing housing costs and stagnant wages. In cities like Austin, even full-time workers can't afford basic apartments. Service workers are priced out of the communities they serve. Texas's social safety net is thin. Healthcare and mental health services are hard to access. A single setback, a medical bill, job loss, can spiral into catastrophe. Rapid gentrification displaces long-term residents, and affordable units aren't replaced. The economic boom benefits some, but leaves many behind. This crisis was predictable and preventable. The ground beneath Texans is shifting, and thousands are falling through the cracks. Homelessness devastates families, especially children. Kids struggle to learn and grow when their only home is a car or shelter. Parents face impossible choices, food or medicine, gas or a motel room. The shame and stress tear families apart and isolate them from support. Communities feel the strain, public spaces become shelters, tensions rise. Punitive laws push people further into the shadows, not toward solutions. The crisis erodes our sense of shared humanity, dividing housed from unhoused. It's not just a logistical problem, it's a moral one. Do we believe housing is a human right? The answer shapes the future of Texas. When visitors first arrive in Texas, they're greeted by the impressive skylines of cities like Dallas and Houston. Towering glass buildings, busy highways, and a sense of energy fill the air. The state's reputation for economic growth and opportunity is on full display, with new businesses opening and tourists flocking to explore the Lone Star State's vibrant culture. But just beyond the polished downtowns and bustling airports, a different Texas emerges. Underneath the overpasses and along the quieter streets, tents and makeshift shelters cluster together, revealing a stark reality that many visitors don't expect to see. The contrast is jarring. Gleaming luxury high-rises stand just steps away from people struggling to survive on the streets. Tourists, who may have come for the food, music, or sports, often find themselves shocked by the visible divide between wealth and poverty. For locals, this contrast is a daily reality. Many Texans feel a deep pride in their city's growth and culture, but that pride is mixed with concern and even guilt as they witness the growing crisis of homelessness. A shop owner in Dallas shares, "It's bad for business, but they're people. They have nowhere else to go." This sentiment is echoed by many who live and work in these communities, torn between wanting to protect their livelihoods and feeling compassion for those in need. Texans want visitors to see the full picture, the beauty and the struggle. Beyond the postcard-perfect images, there are stories of hardship and resilience painted on the city's walls and lived out on its streets. The homelessness crisis isn't the result of apathy. Social workers, volunteers, and local organizations work tirelessly, but the problems are complex and deeply rooted in systemic issues like affordable housing, mental health, and economic inequality. Every person living on the street has a unique story of lost jobs, medical emergencies, family struggles, or simply bad luck. Their faces remind us that homelessness is not just a statistic, but a human experience. The message to outsiders is clear. Don't judge too quickly. Instead, try to understand the challenges and complexities that have led to this situation. Empathy, not judgment, is what's needed most. Despite the divide, there is hope. Community groups, activists, and everyday Texans are coming together to demand change and offer support, showing that compassion and action can make a difference. Texas's image is at a crossroads. The world sees its prosperity, but also its struggles. The way Texas responds to this crisis will shape not just its reputation, but its very soul. The world is watching. How Texas chooses to address homelessness will send a message far beyond its borders about who we are and what kind of future we want to build. To truly understand homelessness, we must listen, really listen, to those who live it every single day. Their voices, often drowned out by the noise of daily life, hold the real stories behind the statistics. On the streets of Texas, from the bustling avenues of Austin to the historic heart of San Antonio, these stories unfold in plain sight, yet so many walk by without ever hearing them. At a San Antonio day center, we meet David, a Gulf War veteran whose life took a sharp turn. He sits quietly among others, his eyes reflecting both resilience and pain as he shares his journey. A back injury and the invisible wounds of PTSD cost him his job, his stability, and eventually his home. "It all happened so fast," David recalls, his voice tinged with disbelief. One day he was working, the next he was struggling to survive, his military boots now worn thin from miles, walked in search of help. Then there's Jessica, just 22, who aged out of foster care with nowhere to go. She works long hours at a fast food restaurant, but her paycheck barely covers food, let alone rent. Each night, she faces the uncertainty of where she'll sleep. "You need a home to get a job, but a job to get a home," she says, her words echoing the impossible cycle so many young people face. She scans job listings, hoping for a break, but the barriers seem endless. Robert, a middle-aged Latino man, once worked construction, sending money home to support his family. But when the work dried up, so did his savings. He lost his job, then his apartment, and soon found himself on the street, far from the life he'd built. "I never thought this would be me," Robert admits, his voice heavy with emotion. He sits alone, wrestling with shame and disbelief, wondering how quickly everything unraveled. These aren't stories of laziness or addiction. They're stories of people caught in a web of circumstances beyond their control. Systems meant to protect and support have failed, leaving them to rely on each other for survival and dignity. Sometimes it takes just one crisis, a medical bill, a layoff, an unexpected expense, to trigger a downward spiral. The safety net is thin, and for many it simply isn't there at all. The psychological toll is immense. Exhaustion sets in, not just from lack of sleep, but from feeling invisible, judged, and forgotten by society. Every day is a battle against despair and isolation. Yet, even in the darkest moments, hope persists. There's a deep desire for a second chance, a belief that with the right support, life can change. Small acts of kindness, a warm meal, or a friendly word can spark hope where it's needed most. These are the faces of Texas's crisis: men, women, and youth, each with a unique story, each deserving of dignity and understanding. Their stories demand to be heard, not just as tales of hardship, but as calls to action for a more compassionate and just society. They are the truth behind the statistics, the living, breathing reality of homelessness in Texas. Their voices remind us that behind every number is a person, and every person deserves a chance. The crisis is daunting, but not hopeless. Across Texas, organizations are making a difference with a housing-first approach. In Houston, coordinated efforts have moved thousands into permanent homes. The solution is clear, stable housing, then supportive services. Real change requires political will and community collaboration. On a personal level, see the humanity in every homeless person. Small acts of kindness restore dignity. Support local shelters and outreach groups. They need resources and volunteers. Educate yourself and others. Challenge harmful stereotypes. Everyone has a role in building a path back to stability. Solving homelessness demands more than charity. It requires systemic change. We must advocate for affordable housing and living wages. Cities can require new developments to include affordable units, expand access to healthcare and mental health services. Community leaders and businesses must step up. This is a shared responsibility. Faith groups can use their networks to shelter and support the vulnerable. There are no quick fixes, only long-term commitment. In a wealthy state like Texas, no one should sleep on the street. The path forward is clear: policy change, investment, and advocacy. This crisis tests our character as Texans. Will we turn away, or will we see the humanity in Maria, David, and Jessica? Texas is built on resilience and community, neighbors helping neighbors. We must bring that spirit to this slow-moving disaster. The homeless are not outsiders, they are our neighbors. Let's not become numb, let's act. Share these stories, talk to your leaders, demand solutions, volunteer, donate, offer kindness. The next time you see someone on the street, remember, they matter. This is our moment to choose empathy and justice. Texas's greatness is measured not by its wealth, but by its compassion. Let's build a Texas where everyone has a place to call home. The heart of Texas is big enough, we just have to prove it.